Welcome back. All right, so I haven't done a panic index for a bit. It's been a little over 2 weeks. I try to do them about 2 weeks apart, right? So today's panic index is going to be a little more. I would think should end up being a little more decisive. Remember, I don't plan this out. Unlike the power rankings, where all week I micromanage them panic index. Just kind of throw them on the board and see what happens. So for maximum happiness, you're looking up here. For the maximum panic, you're looking down here. I've also got the fire here because some of it looks like a tire fire. And over here we got the dude. And I'll explain the dude once we get to it and why it's in the position that it's in right now. Because I think there's some teams that are already ready to kind of chill out and maybe not be as panicked as others. So I'm going to do this in, it's not a random order necessarily. I've got two different, you know what? I have three different piles. All right. Philadelphia for panic. I got to say, pretty panicked right now. This is a team that's been losing a lot of games. Now, I know there's injury problems that are causing this on some level too. But as I've stated before, when you lose those games early in the season, that can cost you a playoff spot at the end of the season. So, yeah, for Philadelphia, I'm going to go ahead and put them below the line. Ottawa. Ottawa, I don't want to put them on the panic side, and yet I think we kind of have to, don't we? So for Ottawa, the shutdown and all that, even before they got shut down because of all their players being out, they still weren't performing very well. So for me, Ottawa absolutely ends up on the panic side of things, right next to the actual panic there. But yeah, so Ottawa to me, yeah, they're pretty panicked overall. New York Rangers fans have to be happy. I'm not going to have them at like maximum happiness right here next to this guy. But yeah, pretty happy with how things are going, right? A lot of wins, a lot of things going their way. No reason to worry, no reason to panic. So why not? Islanders end up there. Oiler fans are very happy with how things are going. The depth scoring is there. Even though they've lost Darnell Nurse, that has given an opportunity for Broberg to step in and show he belongs. Mike Smith is out. Koskinen has been very good. Skinner's been very good as well. So, yeah, for the Edmonton Oilers, it's been a pretty solid run. Detroit. For Detroit, there's no reason to panic. So I'm not going to have them on the panic side of things. I'll have them on the mildly happy side of things. They're not in a playoff spot, and I don't think they're going to end up in one. But I'm kind of debating about whether or not to just have them over here. I'm going to leave them there, though. Just above that line. Again, no reason to panic. They're not in, terrible shape. There wasn't a lot expected of them this year anyways. Winnipeg. Winnipeg right now, I'll put them next to Philly. Yeah, a week ago I didn't think there was necessarily any reason to panic. Now I'm concerned. And that's even though they did beat the Flames the other night. We'll see whether that's a sign they're getting it back or if that's just a one-off, right? So for Winnipeg, yeah, I have them on the panic side of things. I think this has been an up and down season for them. They should still end up in a playoff spot. Likely, maybe, possibly. We'll see. The Central looks pretty wide open right now. Dallas I would have had on the panic side of things. Dallas, I'm going to put them right next to Detroit. Because to me, Dallas, I don't think there's the panic right now. I think things are looking well. It turns out calling up Ottinger and letting him play, who knew? Who thought that might work? And so Dallas is definitely getting better. They're also getting more goal scoring. Hintz seems to have woken up. Robertson's starting to round into the kind of form he showed last year when he was the number one challenger for Kaprizov for Rookie of the Year. Yeah, things look pretty good for Dallas overall. New York Islanders. At this point, I'll have them right down here with Ottawa. There's absolutely reason to panic if you're the Islanders. And they're shut down right now. And so they should be back on Thursday. You would think they'll get enough players back by Thursday. They should be able to play. And then we see what happens from there. But what was a very long road trip to start the season has become a nightmare of a homestand. They haven't won a game at home yet. And you can tell those fans really want to cheer. They are so excited to have their team home. And they haven't been given a reason to cheer yet. So, has to be frustrating for Islander fans right now. And so they're on the panic side of things. Washington. Washington fans should be quite proud of what the team's done. There shouldn't be any pressure from the media for anything to change. And this is while they're dealing with a lot of guys out of the lineup too. Not to mention Backstrom, who hasn't played yet this season. Washington's put together a tremendous record. So for the Washington Capitals, things are going really well. No reason to change anything. So we can have them right at the top of the board, right? Vegas, I get the feeling that it's the first one I'm going to put right. No. Because they just got their guys back. They just got Pacioretty and Stone back. You know what? There's enough wins there. I might even put them a little bit ahead of Detroit and Dallas right now. Because, again, they got their players back. They are having problems with guys going into protocol too, but a lot of teams are. And they've weathered it pretty well. They did outplay Edmonton for large stretches of that game on Saturday night. No reason to be panicked at this time. Columbus also. I'm gonna have them here. I think for Columbus, I think the expectations were pretty low for them. So how well they've played so far this season has been a bit of a surprise to, I would think, almost everybody. Although I've mentioned before, and I'll say it again here, it might be that bounce you get from when a team isn't under Tortorella's coaching anymore. We saw that with Vancouver. Maybe we're seeing it with Columbus. And for the record, Vancouver made the playoffs that year. Maybe Columbus does as well. New Jersey. Jersey fans, I think, are pretty happy about things, especially with the fact that Hughes should be back soon. I'm going to put them right next to Vegas. I don't think New Jersey ends up making the playoffs by the end of the season. I think that even though we're seeing the Islanders and the Flyers drop off precipitously, I still think it's hard to make the top three in that division. I think it's going to be tough to get a wild card spot as well. But I think Devils fans are rightfully pretty excited about the present and the future, and there's a lot of reasons to be excited about it. The Hamiltons fit in pretty darn well, which might have been one concern that you'd have going into this season. So yeah, New Jersey, pretty happy. Vancouver, I can kind of move on, right? Vancouver's like right down, like we're a tire fire, everything's on fire, they're losing constantly, and it's still, you just, and I know the media keeps saying, hey, something's going to happen. Meanwhile, Montreal fires everybody when we didn't know anything was going to happen. Just wait for it. Yeah, all right, sure. Come on, wait for it. Wait. Okay, so we're at the bottom. I don't know if anybody else is going to have their logo next to Vancouver's. I've got Vancouver's like that's it. Vancouver. Colorado. Well, things have certainly turned around for Colorado. They've turned around nicely, so I'll put them right up at the top. This is where they were supposed to be. They were supposed to be cruising this year. Everything was supposed to go well. They were favorites for the Stanley Cup, and everything was supposed to come up roses for them. There wasn't supposed to be the kind of slow start they had, but they had a rough schedule. So that rough schedule, I don't think necessarily helped them. Also, at the top of this board, the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I know, people, I keep seeing, and I thought about doing this for today, but I'm not, because I think we're still too far out this season from it. But I thought about putting the Stanley Cup magnet up here, and having teams that were saying, okay, you're doing well, but let's wait for the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think it's too early in the season to say that, even though I've seen it said about Toronto. And I'm not going to have the logo here just so we can say that about Toronto. I think it's a remarkable run they've been on. Their defense has been good. Their offense has been good. Goaltending's been really solid. And all I heard about all offseason was Toronto's not very good. They just looked really good in a really terrible Northern Division. Once we're back in the normal Atlantic Division, Toronto probably misses the playoffs. I saw that a lot during the summer. They don't look like they're going to miss the playoffs. They look like they could finish first in that division. And it is a fantastically tough division when you've got Tampa, you've got Florida, and Boston still hanging around. So that's a pretty decent 4 teams right there, which might be, again, why Detroit. There's no reason to panic, and whatever happens, happens, right? Tampa. See, Tampa's tough. I think fans are pretty happy. I'm tempted to put them more next to the Rangers. Yeah, I'll put them next to the Rangers, but again, I think fans are pretty happy. If there was a magnet, that was, and again, maybe that's where that Stanley Cup magnet would come in, right? Like, wake us up when this the playoffs. So it might apply to Tampa Bay as well as Toronto. I just didn't want to put up there and then just have Toronto up there and say, all right, it's their thing. St. Louis. This is tough because if I'd done this week ago, they would have been below the line. So I'm just going to put them just above it. St. Louis has shown enough that I think they should be a playoff team. But I'm saying should. They should be a playoff team. Are they going to be a playoff team? Depends on which one shows up the rest of the season. They've had some very good games. They've had some very alarmingly bad games as well. So, kind of middle of the pack in how they've played, but they've had enough wins that I think their fans are probably relatively happy. Seattle. It depends on the day with Seattle. I'm going to put Seattle right up here. I'm not going to put them in the same panic as Philadelphia and Winnipeg, but there's definitely been some panic in Seattle. Again, it's a brand new team. None of these players played as a team before this year. You have to expect it's going to take a while for them to have that cohesion, to have that ability to play as a unit. You have to take what happened with Vegas 4 years ago and say that was special, that was different, this is a different time. Seattle can get this back. Seattle's playing tonight in Buffalo. They win that one, then they're 5 games below 500 at 8-13-1. And they can start, basically plugging away and making some noise in a Pacific Division where suddenly it does look wide open, as we had predicted before the season started, and then some teams got off to amazing starts. But yeah, for Seattle, I don't have them as like fully in panic mode, but it feels like they're 1 game away from it. So if they go into Buffalo tonight and if they lose like 6-0, then maybe we go right back into panic, but I don't think it's necessary. Chicago. I don't get the sense of Chicago being in the same panic level, but I'm not going to have them above the line. They're below 500. They're out of the race. But they've played well lately. Marc-Andre Fleury's playing a heck of a lot better than he did at the start of the year. Their defense has tightened up. So I don't feel like Chicago belongs above the line, but I don't feel like they belong that far below the line because they're trending in the right direction. Like they lose last night, yes, to San Jose, but they're trending in the right direction. And they're doing some of the little things you want to see a team do right. So while they may end up not making the playoffs, absolutely because of their record, I don't think their play right now merits a lot of panic. San Jose. I'm going to put San Jose a little bit above the line. Nothing was expected of San Jose this year. Nothing. And I think that for San Jose, what they've been able to do so far, they've had their ups and their downs. And I think right now they're doing pretty well. So I'll have them above the line. Not necessarily any reason to panic. Even if they'd lost a couple more games, I still don't know that I'd have them below the line. Because again, there was no expectation. Nashville. I'm going to put Nashville below the line a little bit. Nashville has been all over the place too, and while their record's similar to St. Louis, there are some contract decisions that have to be made by David Poile this season. And then there's the question of, okay, Duchesne's doing really well right now, so is Johansson. How do you augment the lineup so that they can have maximum chance of success this year? Like, what if Duchesne's having another one of those really good career years that he has every few years, right? You want to capitalize on that and not just make the playoffs, but maybe have a chance to make some noise when you're there. So with Nashville's play right now, there's been some really bad games, there's been some really good ones, and so for me, I think they're just a little bit below the line. Carolina would have been at the top. With 3 players currently being in protocols, 3 defensemen, all their right-hand defensemen and all that, I'll put them there. So still pretty happy, right? But not like jubilant, we are the champions kind of thing like you might hear from others right now, even though we're months away from actually getting to a point where we can decide anybody is a champion. But hey, Carolina is still playing really well. They've still got one of the best records in the league. They're one of the top teams on that board. They're not the top team on the power rankings right now, but they may be back there by Saturday because that's kind of how it works, right? If I did my power rankings on Mondays, it'd be completely different than what you get on Saturdays for the most part. So, yeah, Carolina, I have them where I have them, and we'll see what happens. Montreal. So, yesterday's moves by Montreal, to me, kind of changed things. That puts Montreal right over here in the dude territory. So, these are teams that are well out of the race, that It's fine. It's fine. Fans will be like, you know what? There's no reason to have any kind of panic. None. We're just going to wait for the draft. We'll see what happens. Everything is fine. So it's all that chill, the dude, it's fine. It's good. If you haven't watched Lebowski, you got to watch Lebowski. The dude magnet doesn't work if you haven't watched Lebowski. But, yeah, that's how I see it with Montreal now, is that they've made the change of general manager. They've gotten rid of most of management in general. And now Montreal fans are saying, all right, well, we'll just wait until next year. We'll just chill out over here. You guys let us know when you're going to make your draft picks so we can complain about them. Calgary. Flames fans are pretty excited right now. Rightfully so. The Flames look like one of the best teams in the National Hockey League right now. They had the setback against Winnipeg, which ended a 7-game point streak. I always find it funny, too, because when I'm looking at the power rankings and the comments, it's, well, this team's this here and this team's not here. There's a lot of teams right now that are doing really well. So, yeah, I mean, it is tough to get into the top row, and it should be. It's also partly because there's a lot of teams right now that are playing really mediocre. Those things are absolutely related. You have some teams that are just flat out bad, and then you have some teams that are really, really good. And so maybe parity's taking a hit this year, right? Maybe. Buffalo. I don't think that Buffalo fans are that panicked. I think Buffalo fans are right over here with Montreal fans. I know how uncomfortable it may be as a Sabres fan or Habs fan for you guys to be next to one another, especially if you remember the 80s when you couldn't have these teams next to each other because division rivalry and the Adams and all that. But I think for Buffalo, I think they're in, yeah, we're cool. We're just waiting for next year territory. I don't think there's any, I mean, if they went on a bit of a winning streak, great. But if they lose, that's okay too. It's a matter of the effort, right? It's the effort. Boston. You know, for me with Boston, I'm going to put them here. I'm going to put Boston here because I have tremendous concerns when it comes to the Boston Bruins right now. And even when they win, I'm not entirely impressed with some of the things I'm seeing going on with them. The goaltendings look shaky at times. I love Swayman. He's looked shaky at times. I like Olmark. Same thing with him. The blue line, I mean, it's good. And then there's the scoring. And now Jake DeBrusk is a healthy scratch. Things seem to be falling out between DeBrusk and the Bruins again. And then there's the how much depth scoring are they getting outside of the top line? I have some concerns. And while Boston's record is good, it's not fantastic. And again, the Atlantic Division, you've got some really fantastic records there. If Boston ends up 4th or below, even if they make the playoffs at 4th in the division, I don't think they go anywhere. I think they could see themselves out in the first round unless something changes between now and the trade deadline. So, but we're just starting to hear that there's rumblings of trades. I'll believe it when I see it. With the salary cap being as it is, most teams are at the cap, so you can't really make any big moves right now. Arizona belongs here next to Montreal and Buffalo. All is well, all is zen. No concerns. They can lose every game. That's fine. The effort has been much better from it. Well, no, I'll go back. The effort's been good from Arizona from the start, but they're looking better as a team than they did at the start of the year, and they should win their share of games. There should be no problem with them passing Washington's 8-game futility record, so Capitals don't have to worry. That record's pretty safe forever. But yeah, so Arizona, I think, has been entertaining. I think they've picked up their game. Some guys are going to get traded, but I think it's going to be fine. Anaheim. Anaheim has had some setbacks lately, but I think the fans are still generally pretty satisfied. They're playing games that matter. They're playing well. They played well at points during that game against Toronto last night. I still think the right team won, but Anaheim played well enough that you can still look at this recent slide and say they're still in a good spot to make the playoffs, and they can go on another winning streak. So yeah, I'm going to put Anaheim above the line right there with Vegas and the New Jersey Devils. Pittsburgh. Depends on the day with Pittsburgh, doesn't it? Pittsburgh, I'm going to leave them. Yeah, I'll leave them in the same spot as Vegas, New Jersey, and Anaheim. The recent winning streak has been good. The goaltending seems to be getting better. But as soon as there's a bad game from DeSmith, that immediately comes up again like, hey, so are they going to do something about the backup spot? And I don't know what they're going to do. I was honestly, when we were talking about Matt Murray a couple days ago, it popped into my head of, could they claim Murray on waivers from Ottawa? Could that be something Pittsburgh would consider? They didn't. They didn't do it. I would not rule out, though, them maybe making a trade. Maybe Pittsburgh is what Matt Murray needs, right? And then you get Ottawa to retain some salary. Maybe. And I'm just throwing that out there. I got no sources telling me it's going to happen. Maybe it doesn't. Sure would be interesting if it did, though, wouldn't it? Minnesota. Minnesota's quite happy right now. I don't see any reason not to have them in the top. Minnesota is playing some of the best hockey they've ever played. Kaprizov is playing some really good hockey. And remarkable point totals considering all the goals that he could have had and might have had that he hasn't yet. So he's got 6 goals, which is, he's not a slouch in that department, but he could have had more than that. He could have had double. Talbot's playing some of the best hockey of his career. And overall, Minnesota's just playing really, really well. So, yeah, top row for him. The LA Kings. Yeah, I'll have them above the line. Nothing was expected of them. I'll have them in the same spot as like San Jose. So all the California teams are in about the same spot. LA, we'll see what they can do to build on the win they had on the weekend against Ottawa. I mean, Ottawa's, down here for a reason. And so for the Kings, it was more of they survived that potential trap game against the Ottawa Senators. Really, for the Kings, we'll see which team the real Kings are and whether or not they are the team that's going to end up above the playoff line or if they're the team that's going to end up below. They've got winning streaks, losing streaks. They're a very streaky team. They need to have more winning streaks than losing streaks if they're going to make it into the postseason. And we'll see how it turns out. And Florida. Now, Florida, top row and everything, right? But lately, things have kind of started to go in the wrong direction. So I'm going to put Florida here. Still above the line. Not on the panic side of the line, but not as high up as they would have been, say, 2 weeks ago. So yeah, that's your panic index for November 29th of 2021. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, just tapping upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.